What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and this episode is the righteous return of Am I the Booty Hole? And not because someone's been obsessively asking for me to read from this subreddit, like a person who obsesses over something weird, like a can of Pringles. But instead of a can of Pringles, it's admittedly pretty charming and funny voice actor and Reddit channel, host reading from a subreddit. Anyway, regardless of my motivations, let's get into it. Alright, so how we're gonna do this probably is like, I'm gonna read the stories, I'm gonna be like, "Are they the butthole?" And then y'all are gonna answer like it's a SpongeBob intro, and then I'm gonna tell you what the objectively right answer is, with my opinion, and we're gonna have a good time. Anyway, first up is called, "Am I the butthole for telling my stepdaughter to go ask her real dad when she asked me to pay for her plane tickets?" Oy. I married my wife, Elise, 12 years ago. She has a 16-year-old daughter, Anna, from a previous relationship, and we have a 7-year-old son as well. From pretty much the beginning of our relationship, Anna and I have never gotten along. I don't know how to emphasize that it is not because of a lack of trying. She just does not like me. When she was young, she was just scared of me and afraid I'd tear their family apart. Nowadays, it's more of a neutral dislike rather than a strong antipathy, so I suppose that's progress. Elise is a stay-at-home mother, so she relies on me for income. As a result, I pay for everything for Anna. Food, clothes, volleyball fees, field trip. I take an interest in her hobbies. I go to her games. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I try my damn hardest to be the stepfather I can be. But it's so hard. Always giving me curt one-word responses, always having to have an attitude. She does things to get a rise out of me. Staying out late, reeking of booze, always trying to sneak boys in, typical rebellious stuff. But I always let her know I love her, and I'm there for her in hopes of her craphead teenager phase past. The opposite is true for her biological father. She adores him. Can't tell you why. He never goes to her games, always makes excuses for why he doesn't want to see her. He forgot her birthday last month and she cried herself to sleep. Well, anyway, Friday I came to her room to check her phone and read her messages. Not a permanent thing, but she's been caught sneaking out twice in the last month, so this is her punishment. I ask for her phone. She says, "No, I'm tired of you checking my crap. Leave me alone." I tell her I'm not asking again, and she goes, "Just step off already. You're not my real dad. You never have been. Stop acting like you can tell me what to do," before getting up and slamming the door. Like I said, guys, I'm tired. Tired of the blatant disrespect, of being the verbal punching bag while still providing more for her than anyone else in her family. We haven't really talked since, until this morning during breakfast. She asked if I could pay for her plane ticket so she could see her boyfriend cross state. Like I said, her mom doesn't work and her dad is a piece of crap, so I normally would be the one to cough up the money. Not this time. I responded with, "Go ask your real dad." I could tell she was hurt. Tears swelled up from her face and she excused herself from the table. My wife took me aside later and said my comment was extremely disrespectful. I said, if anything's disrespectful, it's her treating me like a doormat and a credit card, and I will no longer tolerate this treatment in my house. I told her we don't have to be friends, but if she can't at least be cordial to me or respect my position as an authority figure, she can find someone else to pay for her non-essentials. Am I the butthole? And to add more context, my wife is a saint. She does stick up for me when Anna says something rude or snarky. She just said stooping to her level was inappropriate, but she's a wonderful mom and tries her best. Alright guys, are they the butthole? Ding, dun, 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 dun. Okay, well, here's the answer. No. While if it was for something important, then I would say potentially, because then he would be kind of stooping to her level. But this is kind of a big thing. Like, coming from a person who's grown up in a Pakistani household, going cross-state to visit a boyfriend, with your parents' money, let alone their knowledge, would be insane. Like, no, I would have, like, just for context, talking to girls was a big no-no. Like, I still did it, but like, I had to keep that stuff on the DL, you know what I mean? It's just a really poopy situation because from what we can see here, we have a guy who clearly loves this kid and wants to be essentially her real dad. Like, he's taken up the role from what it looks like. And so I can imagine that, you know, not being a very cool situation to give everything to this person, them still treat you like crap. But honestly, in my opinion, like, I think if you just kind of maintain your loving and your caring, not your Karen, you're caring, then eventually she'll see what you are and all you've done, especially once she realizes how important all the stuff you've done, because, you know, raising a teenager ain't cheap, I'm assuming, like, especially one that does extracurricular activities like volleyball. All that stuff is so expensive. And so eventually there's going to be an appreciation for you taking up that responsibility like it was nothing. And I just hope that understanding comes soon. Also, regarding the whole, why don't you go ask your real dad, was kind of petty. However, don't get me wrong, but I feel like it was a step in the right direction because, you know, you say that and it hurts her. It kind of gets her an idea of how that feels when she says stuff like that. And so that gives you the opportunity to create this little emotional bridge between you. Because think about it, y'all both got hurt from the same sort of words. Use that. Understand each other. Alright, this story's called, Am I the butthole for telling my stepdaughter to go ask her real dad when she asked me to pay for her plane ticket? Hey guys, it's been a good 2 weeks since I've posted and I figured you guys would like an update. A lot has happened since the last time I posted. So that night, I did what many of the comments suggested I do, which was to apologize. I told her that I'm sorry for implying that I'm not her real father, but like it or not, that I consider her my daughter, that I loved her and will always be there for her. She started to cry and sob uncontrollably and said, "Why doesn't he, her biological father, love me?" I held her and told her she didn't need to fight for his approval. I also apologized for looking through her phone, that I've come to accept that it's not an appropriate punishment for a teenage girl, and I was gonna find other alternatives. Lastly, I brought up therapy, and while she was hesitant at first, I let her know it was nothing to be ashamed of, that everything she said at therapy would be entirely confidential, and that it could help to have a confidant to help her sort through her feelings. She sat on this for the day, but the next day let me know that she was ready for it, so I set up the soonest appointment, which was last Friday, and her appointment this afternoon. It's only been a week, so I don't want to get too optimistic, but honestly, I feel like I'm noticing an improvement already. She's actually been engaging back in small talk when normally she wouldn't give me the time of day. She's been following all of the rules, coming home at a reasonable hour. She's been less withdrawn and more social, even to the point where her brother commented on the change today. But the most exciting news of them all is when getting out the car on her way home from therapy, she said, and I quote, "Thanks, Dad." She's never called me dad before, so honestly, I've been riding off that high for the last 2 hours. I'm not delusional enough to think everything's peachy, but honestly, the behavior change in the last week was the most progress we've had since, well, ever. I'm cautiously optimistic going forward. Thanks again, everyone, for your comments, especially the ones who gave me the kick in the ass I needed. Aw, would you look at that? That's freaking wholesome, sweet, and just what we needed. Alright, this story's called, Would I Be the Butthole If I Stopped Baking Cookies for the Retreats That Have Come to Expect Them? I work for a quilt shop part-time, and once a month we have quilting retreats. Over time, I've started to work more at the retreats, and it's come to the point where I cook for the retreats and the owners reimburse me for the ingredients, with the exception of the batch of chocolate chip cookies that I usually make for free. Not to brag, but I make some damn good chocolate chip cookies. The recipe is secret, and it took me years to get the way I wanted. The cookies have become a staple of the retreats, and the owners have started telling people about the cookies to convince them to buy a retreat spot. I don't get paid for baking these cookies, and I don't even get reimbursed for the ingredients to make them. I started doing it just because I liked baking them and giving them to people. It was fun at first, but now when I walk into the shop on retreat, sometimes I get bombarded with, "Oh, did you bring cookies? Where are the cookies?" I can't tell you the last time I got a "Hi, how are you?" from any of the retreaters or any of the other staff that work solely on the retreats. Half of the people who come to the retreats don't even know my name. They call me Cookie Lady, despite being reminded of my name several times. This month, I've got a friend in town and told the owners that I couldn't cook for this month's retreat. When one of the other retreat staffers heard this, they said, "We will miss your cookies." Not, "We will miss you," or even, "Have a good time with your friend." I feel like at this point, my entire worth to them is placed in the damn cookies, and I don't even want to bake them for them anymore. I love baking, but part of that love is experimenting with other stuff, and the one time I brought brownies instead of cookies, I got complained at. I feel forced into making them, and it's not fun anymore. I don't even get paid to make them, but suddenly it's expected of me, and it gets me nothing but stress and hurt feelings. So would I be the butthole if I stopped baking them and just told people to deal with it? No, absolutely not. No. But first, obviously, you're a good person. You're a nice person, so, and this is an old host. This is a really old host. But in my opinion, oh shoot, I gotta ask you, are they the butthole, or would they be the butthole? Oh, there's no point in asking now. I already told you the right answer. But anyway, just like, if there's like someone who, like, a specific, like, person to be a liaison, you could let them know how you're feeling, and like, that you want to take a break from it, and, you know, because it's just, that's a crappy situation, honestly. Choosing beggars galore. This story's called Update. Would I be the butthole if I stopped baking cookies for the retreats that have come to expect them? It's been more than a year since my original post, which I know is quite a long time. It seems a bit silly now that I was so consumed and frustrated by something so small as cookies, but here we go. As a number of comments suggested, I ended up talking to the owner of the shop and telling her that I wasn't going to bake cookies for the retreats anymore. I told her I felt belittled and disrespected by her behavior and that of the retreaters. Her response was basically, "They expect cookies. What do you expect me to tell them? They're not gonna want to come to the retreats anymore. You should have never baked them at all. This whole issue is going to be bad for business." I went home feeling completely invalidated. She completely gaslit me. I read and reread some of your comments multiple times and decided to stand my ground on this. She didn't threaten to fire me or anything. Not that she could have. She needed me. But she continued to guilt trip me and try to manipulate me into baking again. She even had some of the retreaters come to me offering me money to bake for the retreats. At this point, it wasn't about the pay. It was about how people were treating me. I refused and started applying to other jobs because I was sick of the environment. The thing is, I'm actually a licensed pharmacist. I was working for minimum wage at a quilt shop because I was burnt out in an oversaturated, it's wabbit season. Saturated and overworked field. I was depressed because I was a doctor of pharmacy, 8 years of college completed, and I didn't feel mentally fit for working in that field because of my mental health. I worked for this quilt shop for a year. I learned some things, got a break, and regained some of the mental health I lost. This cookie debacle was the push I needed to regain my self-worth and go back to the field that I wanted to be in. Within a month, I found a job as a pharmacist at a federal prison. I loved it from my first day. I've been there a year now, and I love every day of it. My job has meaning, my coworkers are awesome, and every day is a new experience. It took a few months, but I got my baking mojo back. I'm known throughout the prison by my actual name, and people come to visit the pharmacy for some cookies, or whatever baked good I decided upon, and they stay for conversation. I found a job I love, and a group of people who appreciate my baking and don't use me as a cookie slave. Thanks, Reddit. You guys are awesome. Wow, look at that. If you post on here and you follow the advice, you can become a pharmacist super duper quick and, like, you know, work there for like a year and like make cookie friends. Hell yeah. This story's called, Am I the Butthole for Kicking a Friend Out of My House for What She Said? Disclaimer, I'm on mobile and this is a throwaway for privacy reasons. Earlier today, I had 2 friends over to watch a game and catch up as social distancing rules eased up a bit in my area. We're all women in our early 30s. One friend, let's call her Allie, has had a a very tough couple of years. She lost her husband last year. He was on deployment when he passed away, and tragedy struck again when her 6-year-old son passed away from cancer a few months ago. Needless to say, she was, and still is, devastated, and this was the first time she felt like hanging out since the loss of her son. My other friend, let's call her Beatrice, is very traditional and religious, while friend Allie and myself are not religious at all. But our differing views have never been an issue, and we've gotten along just fine with friend Beatrice since we met her 4 to 5 years ago. Beatrice has brought up what she believes are the benefits of religion to us a few times in the past, but always dropped the subject when we weren't responsive to it. Neither Allie nor I ever held any ill feelings toward her about this, as she wasn't too pushy with her beliefs. On to the situation that took place today. We were listening to Allie pour her heart out and doing our best to console her while being a shoulder to cry on. Allie, through tears, said, "I don't know what I did wrong in my life to deserve to lose her husband and son." Instantly, Beatrice exclaimed, "Well, I can tell you that. You didn't allow God and the Bible into your life, so God punished you for it. Can you blame him?" Allie just looked at her in awe. I lost it. I yelled at her that what she said was totally uncalled for and unbelievably hurtful. Then I got up, opened the front door, and told her to get the hell out of my house and never contact me again. She tried to backtrack and say that she wasn't trying to be hurtful, but I wasn't having any of it. I yelled again, "Just get out of my house right now! Don't make me throw you out like a piece of trash!" She huffed and left. Allie was bawling at this point, but said thank you. We continued talking and she calmed down after a while. Looking back, I realized that I possibly could have handled the situation better. Both Allie and I never thought Beatrice would say something like that. Maybe I overreacted. I don't know. Am I the butthole? I didn't expect this to take off as much as it did, and I really appreciate all the comments, messages, and awards. I want to clarify why I think I may have overreacted. I always thought of myself as tolerant and a person who respects other people's views and beliefs, no matter how extreme. This situation made me react in a way that, in my mind, didn't make me a tolerant person, because I did throw someone out of my house for saying something that I thought was out of line, but it still was part of their belief system. This is the reason I wanted opinions from the fellow Redditors, as I obviously can't be unbiased here. Thank you all for your input. There you go. I agree 100% with the edit. I really don't think Beatrice meant any ill will there. She just said what she thought. Honestly, from the way it's written, it really seems like it was kind of like a "I told you so" kind of thing, when I really don't think it was, because my mom does that kind of thing all the freaking time, and it pisses me off. It really, it does. Oh my god. But I will say this. A lot of the time, she doesn't mean it in a condescending, disgusting way. And I'm gonna give Beatrice the benefit of the doubt. However, be mindful of what you say and where and when you say it. Come on, guys. Setting is very vital when it comes to something's appropriatosity. I like that word more. And you know what? She definitely seems like one of those preachy Christians, though, because of what she said. Like, I feel like most God-loving folk would agree that God's not gonna kill your family if you don't necessarily believe in them. I think of all people, God, by this point, will understand that not everyone's faith is gonna be 100% all the time. And if they aren't, that doesn't make them a bad person. So, I doubt he's gonna kill your kid or your husband. But then again, I'm no scholar. Yep, I gave that up to be baller. This story's called Am I the Bell for Kicking a Friend Out of My House for What She Said? It's been a few weeks since the situation happened, so I will start off by saying that ex-friend Beatrice, did not apologize to Allie for what she said. Matter of fact, she hasn't reached out to either one of us since then. We also didn't reach out to her. Unfortunately, Beatrice's words from that day really got to friend A. She struggled with survivor's guilt and questioned her upbringing and lifestyle, views on religion, etc. She doubled her therapy sessions, and I spent my free time keeping her company. A couple of weeks ago, I went over to her place and found her reading a Bible and almost obsessively flagging pages. She said she was researching to check if what Beatrice told her was true. She started reading excerpts and telling me her interpretations. This behavior did scare me a bit, so I suggested she bring this up to her therapist. It was the only thing I could think of to help calm her down. She did talk to the therapist, who suggested she perhaps talk to a pastor instead of trying to come up with her own conclusions. She asked me to go with her, which I did, but told me to just wait for her at the church while she talked to the pastor privately. After, she said that she felt better and was more convinced that Beatrice was full of it. She also seemed calmer, so I believe that conversation did help her. I was at her house on Friday, and she told me that she still thinks about what was said, and although she feels much better after talking to the pastor, he's only one person, and what if he's wrong? I tried to reassure her again and talk through her feelings, but I could tell it was still eating at her. I had a feeling she might spiral again. Then I had an idea. I told her about the post I made on here and explained why and how it works. She's not a Reddit user. I pulled up my original post and asked her to read the comments to show her how hundreds of people, religious and non-religious, felt about what was said. We spent the entire evening reading each comment. She cried, she laughed, she was surprised and overwhelmed at the amount of support and reassuring words from all these strangers. I could tell she was more and more relieved as we read. She has been in a much better state of mind since then, so seeing hundreds of people disagree with Beatrice's words definitely had a positive impact on her. So, dear Redditors, thank you from the bottom of my heart for helping my friend with your kind words and reassurance. She has a long road ahead of her in this grieving process, but she's going strong. Okay, that's amazing. I'm so glad. That was a good idea to show her this post. Especially, that was pretty good timing too, to save it toward the end. Because, like, if you start off with feeling like you're alone and, you know, no one's gonna think you're in the right, and you have one or two people tell you and, you know, push you over the fence a little bit, and then you have a flood of hundreds, maybe what, thousands of people? Hundreds of people, saying, hey, you did nothing wrong. I'm sure that'll help her a lot. You are a good friend.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.